Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Amanda Miller here with me today. Amanda is a seasoned business consultant and transformational leader with a rich and diverse background in an array of industries. With an innate ability to guide individuals and organizations toward realizing their full potential, Amanda has consistently demonstrated her expertise in strategic thinking, project management, leadership development, and fostering positive change. An active member of the community, Amanda sits on the City of Mesa Advisory Board for Housing and Community Development and often mentors aspiring entrepreneurs in the community. Welcome to the show, Amanda. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that intro. Thank you.
There's a lot of neat stuff there. Is there anything you want to unpack first?
I think one piece that I'd like to, I guess, highlight is the community involvement piece.
Okay.
I'm a believer that we're only truly as strong as the community that we're a part of, and so giving back has always been something that's very near and dear to me. I've in growing up, I came from a background where on one side of things I had every opportunity afforded to me. On the other side of things, I maybe made decisions in my youth that maybe weren't always the smartest, right? Where our brains are still developing, and the community that I have around me was so important always to make sure that I was able to right the ship. And
Right.
and so giving back and being part of the community advisory board for the City of Mesa Housing and Community Development Committee has been really phenomenal, transformative, getting more of a glimpse into what's happening, what's coming, and why. And also our board heavily focuses on camping out homelessness, and helping folks to get back on their feet through different programs, grants, initiatives, city, state, and federal government funding, and how that is allocated among the different organizations that ask for it and put proposals together. So at my core, I'm a community advocate, and
That's awesome.
business and entrepreneurship, education, advocacy, all lines into that, and really just builds, I guess, who I am.
Okay, those are great. Yeah, we are absolutely a product of our community, and so much of what we do wouldn't be possible without a strong and stable community to do it in. How long have you been with the City of Mesa Advisory Board?
So I completed my first year in my initial 3-year term. We actually just last week, I think it was, had our kind of wrap up breakfast. And so it's a 3-year term. You can do a max of 2 terms. So it's a newer endeavor for me. And I was very, very happy to be selected as when a spot came available.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So let's step back to the array of industries that you've worked in, and can you want to tell us a little bit about how they've changed and your interests have grown over time?
Yeah. Well, I can say that my very first job was, I don't know if you've ever been to the mall and had those folks at the little stands who kind of clean the shoes with a product called Shoe Magic, and they're usually calling people down and saying, "Hey, what's going on with your tennies? Like, bring them over here. Let me get those refreshed." And so that was my very first job, and I worked there when I was, I think, 13, maybe 14. I started there.
Okay.
Was supposed to, but okay. And from there, I actually worked at Haagen-Dazs, and the movie theater. And I spent time after that in the hospitality industry, in restaurants and in a hotel. Um, and I actually have a culinary arts degree. I ended up going to culinary school. I have been an executive chef. I've been a kitchen manager. I have been a restaurant manager, and I've done everything from wash dishes to greet people at the front door, and cook and everything in between. Um, and I thought I was going to be in the restaurant industry forever. You can if you ask my grandfather, my late grandfather, he would tell you, when I was asked when I was young, what are you going to be? What do you want to be when you grow up, or what do you want to do? My
Right.
answer from the time I was like 6 years old would be, I want to own my own chain of five-star resorts and hotels. So that was my
Nice.
my thought of what my life was going to be. And I opened so my first real entrepreneurship journey. I opened a catering business, and I ran that catering business for about 3 years, solely as my sole income, and it was a lot of fun. It was great. I learned so much, and I was looking back. I'm like, man, I was so young. But my son, as I was sharing with you, he's 18 now. He was, 4, 5, 6, and in that time, I was realizing that in the restaurant industry, I was not getting to see him as much as I would like, and
Sure.
I was kind of I'd drop him off at the sitter. Sitter would take him to school. I would pick him up from school, drop them off. It was kind of like that whole thing. And
Sure.
sometimes I wouldn't get off work until 2 in the morning. And, weekends, holidays, especially with the catering, that's when people want you to
Right.
work,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
And so I had some experience in sales, through a family member of mine, who had helped me to get into the arena of office equipment, technology. And so I had worked for Konica Minolta for about a year and a half in my younger days, and I I excelled at it. I liked it, but I something about the restaurant industry just always enticed me. So I ended up going back there. And when my son started to get a little bit older, and I was just looking at, okay, what's life really going to look like? Am I going to be able to balance this time commitment that the restaurant is? And I made the decision to move into sales as a career. And that's where I went back into office equipment. I moved into marketing, sales, and ultimately into solar. And I had I had actually right after high school, man, I always wanted to travel. I always wanted to see the country and ultimately see the world. And my mom hated this idea, but I ended up on a magazine crew right out of high school. So I had a friend drop me off at the bus station, and I took the bus to Omaha, Nebraska, and got picked up in a van. And I spent the summer selling magazines door to door on a crew. And so I had that sales experience as well.
I've
That's
heard
a
that type of sales can be an incredibly powerful training tool
yeah.
for a lot of things.
Oh
You
yeah.
just growing that rejection muscle among them.
Yeah, rejection, perseverance, it's a and just life, it's just a lesson in life. But that's definitely a story for another day. But I ended up ultimately making my way over the years into solar sales. I had been in office equipment technology. I was a legal technology expert with Konica Minolta, and I was working with law firms and legal adjacent companies, helping them to maximize their office technology. But um, I had a colleague that I had worked with in marketing sales. Um, I think I reached out to him to see how he was doing. I hadn't talked to him in a while, and he says, "Hey Miller, I've got a spot for you if you're interested. I'm over here at this company called," and he said the name of the company, which was Sunrun, and he didn't say solar, so I didn't know what Sunrun was actually. I was just like,
Right.
what is this, like a marathon company? Like, I don't, that doesn't sound fun, Rubens. No. But I looked up the company, and I actually put just like a news feed, and over the course of 6 months, I researched the company, researched the industry, and one of the things for me, and I'll get to a little bit about why I started Illuminate Sales Solutions, but I didn't ever know growing up that solar was an industry that was an option to build a career in. And I think that there are a lot of young people, especially young people growing up in the inner city, who are just not exposed to that industry, to the renewables industry. And so over the course of about 6 months, I watched this company, I read about it, I learned about it, and I was like, man, they're doing something pretty cool. Like, this is actually pretty cool. And at the time, I was a bit of a big tree hugger, and I still am, but I was really like very into it, into the whole foods, plant-based eating, hiking and meditation, and spending, my time there. That's when I was first kind of getting steeped in that lifestyle. Now, I still do all of that stuff. I think I was a little um, gung ho in
Sure.
my youth, but I reached out one day and I said, "Hey, I'm interested. Do you still have a spot?" Because initially I had told him, I'm just really happy where I am. Where
I,
I wasn't really happy where I was. I
okay.
was comfortable. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, big difference. Yeah.
yeah. And so I went in, and and it was a major shift, right? I was shifting industries. I was shifting careers. So I started at the bottom, where I wasn't at the bottom where I was. And so I worked my way into several leadership positions over the course of time, and ultimately spent 7 years in the industry, making what I think has been a pretty decent impact, and I'm not done yet. And so I've met some phenomenal people, phenomenal leaders who truly care about the environment, decarbonizing the energy grid, and really building out the opportunity for a better energy future that I believe is really more important than I think the average person truly recognizes.
Yeah, I think the it's it comes and goes as a crisis, but the energy demands of the country are huge and are not given the focus, I think, or the attention that it probably needs, because it's ginormous and growing. So yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to back up for a second and talk about the restaurant industry because it
Yeah.
sounds like it's kind of at an earlier stage. Your heart used to be there anyway, and that makes sense. I mean, I think we all enjoy food, and we all almost all dine out with some frequency, and that's him. I worked in a restaurant as a kid, and I thought for my kids too now, teenagers, that's a great experience. Everyone
Yeah.
goes to them. Everyone should kind of know what it's like to be on the other side and work there and
Yeah.
so forth. Um, but it has crazy hours, particularly nights and weekends, and not very family conducive to having children, I imagine. So
Yeah.
I hear you. That makes sense. Totally. Seems like, I don't know if it's fair to say, but it's kind of a young person's game. Like being
You
a
know,
bartender or something.
it's so funny that you say that, because I've had obviously you can imagine I spent a lot of time in the industry, so I have a lot of connections and people that I've known throughout life where we met in the industry. And today those folks are lawyers and real estate agents, and scientists, and speech pathology specialists, and everything in between. And ever so often, on Facebook or on LinkedIn, or in passing, meeting up with someone, I'll hear someone will share with me, oh, I'm moving, back into the restaurant industry. And in my head, I'm like, you're brave, man. Like, I'm just like, that's a young man's game. That's a young woman's game to me, because it's not only the work is hard. The work can be tough. I mean, in catering, for instance, I mean, I was lugging and, lifting up 110 pound coolers on my own, like,
Yep.
and I'm loaded up. But in the restaurant industry, hours, it's not just like the hours, but it's like, man, I feel like the older I get, the more I recognize that my body truly does have a circadian rhythm, and I need to
Oh,
go to sleep at a certain time in order to wake up at a certain time, or I do not feel good. Like, it's not necessarily just about the hours, it's about when I get those hours. And so I'm
right.
always like, hey, more power to you, to anyone that I know who's moving back into the industry, because it's tough work.
Right. Yeah, it's the same with mostly the most people I know do shift work or night work are like my physician friends and stuff. And when
Yeah.
you're young, staying up on call all night, it's fun and exciting and you're off doing good stuff. And then when you hit your
Yeah.
30s and you're like, oh, okay. And then the 40s and 50s, particularly if you have kids and other stuff, like, oh, this is killing me.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So you mentioned, I mean, you've taken some risks, changing jobs and other stuff. What's an underrated skill or habit that's been pivotal for your continued success?
I think patience. And I think that's something, that a skill that I really honed serving tables. Um, Patience and grace. Not taking things personally, and understanding that I believe that everyone's doing the best they can with the tools they have where they are in the moment. And I'll tell you a story. There used to be or there probably still is, a joke in the restaurant industry, um, that people sometimes, it seems like they go to church on Sunday to absolve themselves, and then immediately come into a restaurant and treat the staff like, not like trash,
Right.
and which isn't good,
Mm.
but I was serving tables on a Sunday shift. And me and my sister were both working that shift. And there was a table that was, the terminology is, they were running me, I to the table, and I'm looking, I'm like, does anybody need any extra sauces, and a ranch, barbecue sauce, honey mustard, looks like drinks are good. Does anyone want, a backup, and napkins, is there anything that we need? No. Okay. Go to greet the next table. Hey, can I get some ranch? Yes, absolutely. So I'm gonna get ranch here. Anybody else? Barbecue sauce, ranch, lemons, side of French fries. Does anyone need anything? Nope. Okay, go get the ranch, come back. Hey, can I have some napkins? Can I have a side plate? So it was that experience where it's like, okay.
Sure.
And the patriarch of the table didn't like his meal, and he wasn't very gracious about it. He, was very rude in sharing with me that he didn't like his meal, shoving his plate at me, and all of these things. And it was a Sunday, and what happens is, this Sundays typically start out pretty dead, and then you get slammed, and that
Mhm.
slam goes until like 3 o'clock in the
Okay.
afternoon. So it's like you get slammed at like 11 o'clock, and then it goes for the whole rest of the time. And I walked to the back, and I was so upset, and I was just like, this guy, and my sister looked at me and she said, one, you should feel sorry for him. If he feels comfortable treating you like that, then he probably has a really small life, and you should feel sorry for him. And two, maybe he's having a bad day. You don't know what's going on. Just, kind of be cool, deal with it.
Right.
And this is my older sister, and don't tell her, but she's taught me quite a few things. But I I wanted to be really, really mad, you know?
Right.
But when she said that, I thought to myself, what am I mad about? Like, this is going to last a very short amount of time. They're going to pay their bill, they're going to leave, and I'm going to go about my life. They're going to go about theirs. There's a chance I might never see them again. And in the grand scheme of things, when I look back on my life, is this really going to be one that I want to have dwelled on, you know, dwelt on. And
It
so that
turns out it
lesson,
is. It turns out you turned it into a positive moment.
it's yeah, I think it's positive, you know. The only time I've thought about that instance is in times I've had many people ask me over the years, you know, what's a lesson that you learned, or what's
Mhm.
something that you can remember from the restaurant industry that you want other people to know. And really that's it, you know. And that's one story that I'm able to bring up, because outside of that, it's, man, I met some of the smartest, hardworking, most, you know, giving people that I've ever known in the restaurant industry. I've seen people, you know, do everything they can to provide for their families while working, you know, hard with their body and mind. And yeah, so that was an experience that it stuck with me. And I thought to myself, man, yeah, you know, because it was a big party. It was a table of like 12. It was a decently big party, and they weren't my only table.
Right.
And so it was a fun experience, but that was a good lesson to learn. You know, just kind of when I was in the car industry, um, I had a mentor. I was having a bad day, and he sat me down, and this guy had been in the industry for like 40 years. He was an old timer. And he said, man, I'm gonna ask you a question. What happens to a duck in the rain? I was like, what? And he's like, when the rain hits the duck's pelt, what happens? I said, it rolls off. And he said, that's right, hit and roll. That's how you got to get through life. Just hit and roll, let it roll off. And so it's little things like that that I've had happen over the course of my career that I think have helped to give me a positive discernment and a positive outlook on life.
Excellent. Yeah, it's very important to be able to control your emotions and your reactions to things. Otherwise, you're being controlled by all your external factors. You're like a puppet to everything else that's happening. People can just manipulate you in a sense.
Yeah.
So with that sort of, as you grow, you get more new challenges. How do you approach learning new skills, especially those outside your comfort zone?
Um, I would say I approach them, I approach learning with an open mind. Um, Starting to realize I've got stories for days, but there's a lesson that I learned from someone who I never thought, you know, I never thought I would. This is a person who I never thought I'd learn anything from. And he taught me that you can learn something from every person that you come across, and never never be so close-minded that you can't take the lesson that is there because you think you're too big or too great or too smart or too whatever. And so I try to approach learning with an open mind, and with that spirit of, I feel like I can learn something from every person that I come into contact with. So if I can have my heart and my mind open enough, I'm going to be able to receive that knowledge, and receive that learning. If I don't, if I'm closed down, then I'm not, and I'm going to miss out on really great opportunities to better myself and potentially be able to give better to the world.
Nice. Okay. And so in terms of on that vein of making an impact and I guess leveraging your experience and knowledge personally and or professionally, uh, moving forward, are you starting a new meetup or group you can share?
Yeah, so I And again, learning something from everyone. So years ago, I just called it a town hall. We met at the base of South Mountain, near Holbert Trail. And I think we had like a couple meetings, two, maybe three. And it was just, uh, get different people who I know together and let's discuss important topics and just learn from one another. But at the time, we mostly discussed self-sufficiency and survival. But in conversation that I had with a very recent former employee, I was inspired to restart this type of experience, but on a more broad scale. So um, I've created what I'm calling, I've named it Curiosity Club. And our first meeting is June 29th at 11 a.m. We're meeting at Buddha's Brew Coffee Cafe, which is on Main Street and just east of Hobson in Mesa. And the focus is we'll choose one topic. The topics are up for vote right now, and I'm just seeing if I can pull them up. But the topics that are on the list for the first meeting for choice are the future of work. Will robots take our jobs? What skills will be important in the future? Topic option 2 is time travel. If you could travel through time, where would you go and why? Topic 3, the ethics of artificial intelligence. Should AI be able to make its own decisions? And 4, the greatest challenges facing humanity. What are the biggest problems we need to solve together? And the idea is the community is choosing one topic, and we will come in and have an open and inviting conversation that is diverse with different people from all walks of life giving input and thought. And it's really a collaborative environment to meet people, to hear different perspectives, and to broaden our understanding and our connections within the community. Um, and yeah, so far we've got like 24 people have responded to the
Nice.
invite, and who knows how many people show up, but it's from
Sure.
11 to 12:30, and I think it's a really good opportunity to have real human connection and conversation right
Which
in
we're
our
desperately
community.
needing nowadays. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's great. And I don't know if this episode will air exactly before then or not, but this will be a recurring event.
Yeah, so the idea is that this will be quarterly to start. So look out for Curiosity Club on Facebook, and we'll continue the conversation
Okay,
with new topics every quarter.
very cool. I like the name. It sounds like a new Netflix show or something too. Okay.
Hey, that's a good idea.
To wrap things up a little bit, I'll talk a little bit more about what you're doing to set things up for yourself and your family for like a legacy.
Yeah,
Uh, Maybe it's
yeah.
financial stability or the cultural side. There's all sorts of community aspects here. You feel free to answer that in any of those capacities.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, a big part of it is education. We were kind of talking about before, being open to learning from different people from different walks of life. Um, my wife and I, we have you know, kind of set ourselves up from a legacy standpoint with investments in the market, as well as insurance that makes sense for us. And we have an investment property that we've held for a few years now, and we're in the process of kind of restructuring that property, but continuing that path. And making sure that we own land and buildings, and that we continue to invest in ourselves in things that compound, whether it's education in our businesses. My wife's a real estate agent, Katie Miller, Arizona realtor. And we have a cleaning company with my brother and sister. And also I have my consulting firm where I've taken what I've learned in my experience broadly and cultivating that into consulting for solar and solar adjacent sales organizations to help to increase our decarbonization and accelerate the renewable energy revolution that we really need. So
Okay.
all of those things for me set my family up for a legacy that it's
Excellent.
positive.
Yes, that sounds like a great plan. I'm in real estate. I'm a big fan of real estate. Sounds like
Nice.
you got some of that in your portfolio and as well. It's great.
Yeah.
You mentioned traditional investments, but I think my favorite answer was I don't have the Benjamin Franklin quote, but the best investment is in yourself, right? In your education.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I guess you've kind of answered this in a couple of different ways so far, but I'll officially ask one piece of advice you'd give to someone or to your younger self, right? To achieve similar success.
There are people less talented, less equipped, less ready than you doing what you want to do because they have the audacity to do it.
Beautiful.
That I think is it for me.
Yes, some of the most successful people I know had it way harder, right? And that's part of the lesson there is those challenges are your opportunities for growth, right? And the more you have to overcome, the stronger you are.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So thank you, Amanda, for joining me today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. For our listeners who want to learn more about you or connect, where can they find you?
So they can find me on LinkedIn, Amanda Miller AZ on LinkedIn, and they can find my business if they want to learn more about Illuminate Sales Solutions at illuminate-sales.com. Or if you or anyone that you know is looking to transform your space or redefine your comfort through effective cleaning solutions for your home, 360 Clean It, 360cleanit.com.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Amanda. We appreciate you sharing your story and insights today and the success and impact in this crazy and beautiful world. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim.
Inspired by our guests? Visit phoenixprosperitypodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.